Insider with Travis Filing and Gary Thardish on 1499.3 KLIN.
And you're listening to the 402 Business Insider. We are coming at you live from the KLIN studio. We are sponsored by James Arthur Vineyard. Just found out that our producer David worked for James Arthur Vineyards for like 3 years, 4 years, something like that. And our other new sponsor, the Berry Law Firm. So I want to thank them, give them a quick shout out. I'm Travis Filing with Transformation Marketing, and Gary's out today, but that's okay. We can handle this on our own. We have Dave Haring from the Lincoln Airport in. We're going to talk all things airport today.
Yeah.
So how you doing today?
I'm great. Yeah, looking forward to it. Always love talking about the airport.
Oh, gotta love it. Gotta love it. So this is so funny because I was gone last week, and so whenever I get downtime, I just start scribbling my notes and start prepping for the show. And I was in Austin last week, and the only downtime that I had was sitting in the airport. And I'm not exactly a Zen traveler, right? And so I'm scribbling down notes and whatnot. And about middle of the week, I went through and I was reading through my notes, and I was howling, laughing, because I had asked Dave about, how do we stop these people from wearing a bathrobe and slippers to the airport? And it was funny. So this is all the things that are not in your purview.
That's right. Fix all things.
Asked.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yep. Every traveler complaint, Dave can handle this, right? We're on it.
But that being said, what exactly, you are the executive director at the Lincoln Airport. So give us kind of that 30,000 foot view of, is there a 30,000 foot view?
There might be. Yeah. It's just kind of what it is to be the executive director of an airport. One of the reasons I love airports this size is as you get bigger in airports, that kind of everybody aspires to be bigger and better and whatnot. I've never wanted to do that. You get up there and you get to big airports, and they're very political, first of all. Second of all, you're very siloed. You know your role and your job. Things that's great about Lincoln is I get to be part of everything. And it's kind of its own small city. I mean, you've got accounting and projects and even stuff that isn't fun all the time. You got environmental and regulatory and all of that. But you kind of have to be a knowledgeable about everything, but an expert at nothing, because you just kind of have to know a little bit about everything that goes on at the facility. And
there's a ton of employees that are all under your leadership.
Yeah. So there's about 100 people that work at the airport, and we have senior staff is basically 4 different directors, and so you've got it broken down by finance and admin, planning and development, now air service and strategic marketing, and then operations and maintenance, and certainly ops and maintenance is that big category. About 2/3 of our staff go through that. Keeping an airport running takes a lot of effort, but we're pretty efficient for the size staff that we have.
And you also, do you have to coordinate? Like, I imagine you work a lot with the FAA, with TSA, with all those groups. I mean, is that take a lot of your time working with them?
It is definitely an awareness. There was a stat or a saying out there I saw at one point that said that outside of banking, and the aviation or airport industry is the second most regulated industry in the country. So yeah,
I believe it.
So yeah, there's a lot of communication that goes back and forth. And every time you have an idea, you got a great idea, you think, oh yeah, we should do that. And then you got to ponder, be like, well, that you're not allowed to do that based on this. And
man,
it can get frustrating.
Is there so I used to be a pilot, and we always had the FAR-AIM, the Federal Aviation Regulations, Airman Information Manual. Yeah. And it was, couple thousand pages. Yeah. Do you guys have, I would imagine,
multiple versions of that sort of concept, where you've got guidance documents that come from the FAA? Everything has guidance. They're not necessarily regulations per se. One of the things that are out there are things like advisory circulars. These by definition are things that, hey, we really would like to see you do. You don't have to. They're advisory only, but you're not going to get money from us unless you do it. So it's kind of a fine little dance there.
So one thing that always struck me, because when I flew, I was in Denver, and I came to Lincoln once in a while. You guys have one of the longest runways. Mm-hmm. Why is Lincoln's runway so dang? Because it's 2 miles long.
Yeah, it's
10,000,
almost 11,000. Actually, almost 13,000 feet.
13,000 feet.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's 200 feet wide. So it's basically due to the old Air Force days. So it's carryover from the old Air Force days. One of the longest runways in the country. Actually, the airport itself, just on size, at right around 5,500 acres, is one of the largest airports in the country by land size as well. So a lot of for the amount of commercial air service we have, it's kind of it's a big facility.
Yeah, it was a lot of military back in the day, because I think I read on your Facebook there was like 10,000 flights. Was it a month?
Yeah.
Back in the 80s. Mm-hmm. That's incredible. And military's still out there. The Air National Guard is still out there. They're still flying is it C-130s they're still doing?
KC-135s.
KC-135.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we have great relationships with the military, obviously, not only with the National Guard, but we served as the bed down base for Offutt when they had to do their runway project. So had a lot of military activity here. Community is always very supportive of that. Come out, it's always cool to see the planes anyways. But yeah, it has been a benefit for us to have that long runway. And I imagine we may actually talk about that a little bit later on the agenda. We talk about projects. So.
Yeah, I know. And so do you work a lot with the military side of it as well?
We do. Yeah. Okay. Matter of fact, military provides all of our crash fire rescue services out at the airport. And so it's not uncommon. That's the same thing. I came from Cheyenne. Cheyenne had the same sort of component to it. And so it's a great partnership there. But we really work closely together, both on things they have going on in their world, whether it's projects or advocacy or whatnot. And then likewise, they are good partners for us on our side as well.
And is that where you started, was in Cheyenne?
I did. I was an intern in Cheyenne and was going to go back and get my master's degree, and got a tremendous opportunity from the gentleman who was the director there. And he was an incoming chair of a national association I'm part of now. And it was just, I got the opportunity to come out as a number 2 at a commercial service airport. And it was just too good to pass up. So
how cool is that?
Yeah.
How long were you there?
I was there for 13 years. Started there in 01.
Oh, okay. So were you there pre 9/11? Or
I was there. So I started in May of 01.
Okay.
So I was there just a few months in front of 9/11. As an intern, have a lot of stories from that day, certainly knowing how the information trickled in. We were at a board meeting, actually.
Oh, wow. So security changed, because when I was flying, it was all pre 9/11. Mm-hmm. So I left in 98. So I didn't have to deal with any of that. But what was the security difference? Like, I mean, that, because I remember the military came in, they were armed. I mean, it got nuts. And I don't want to say we never came out of it. We still have a very locked down, airports in comparison to what it was pre 9/11. And of course you were pretty new at the job.
Yeah, it was odd. During that time, there were a lot of airports, including ours, that there were armed guards. I mean, at all of our access points, you had people holding M16s and things like that. And so, as a country that isn't used to seeing war or anything like that on its ground, that was foreign. I mean, seeing that sort of thing was just foreign and eye opening and whatnot. Security changed overnight. And if you think back now, it's the current generation of travelers, people that weren't born or whatnot during that time period, don't know anything different than now.
Right.
Talking about, you could just walk right to the gate and get on the plane. I mean, you didn't have this sort of security. So thinking about it now and how it's evolved, we're actually looking now at taking steps back. I mean, the security at airports, they are now evaluating, can we figure out a way to allow travelers who don't have tickets, just meters, greeters, whatnot, to go past security to see loved ones off. And so we're kind of trying to blend modern day security with old time comfort, I guess.
Yeah, because I remember the day. I mean, you walked right up to the gate and you wait for mom or Uncle Frank or whoever is that's coming to see you. And now it's you got to wait a mile away.
Well, and as a kid who grew up, I mean, I fell in love with aviation because of that. I remember going to pick up my uncle when he was flying in from San Francisco, and we go right to the gate and I get to see the airplane and all that. And we've kind of lost that a little bit. You don't have that magic of flying that existed for those kids because you can't get by security. So you can go to an airport, you can see an airport, but it's not that magic of watching a loved one come right off the gate and into the the meeting area. So
yeah. Well, I remember this was forever ago, but a bunch of guys that I used to fly with ended up flying with Air Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. And they did a lot of maintenance in Lincoln.
Yeah.
And so they'd call me up and they go, hey, come on down. We're, flying the Dash 8 and you got to check this out. And, they could walk you right through, pre 9/11, they walk you right out onto the tarmac and poof, up on the plane we go. And that all ended.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and it's probably a good thing that all ended, just because, you never know who's walking around.
Well, think about even just on the airplane, it's going out of my purview now, but even on the airplane, first-time travelers that were kids used to be able to go see the cockpit. Used to go up into the cockpit while you were flying. So, and now you've got reinforced doors, and those can only be opened in certain, there's a certain process in order to open the door, and someone has to go in, so you can't have only one person on deck. And so it's changed so much. And that's one of the things I'm passionate about, that next generation of aviation lovers, and figuring out how we can continue to create this magic of aviation, this magic of flying when you have all these barriers in the way now.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember back, when I was flying, you used to just take your license and your ID badge, and you would go down and you would make friends. And if you needed to get somewhere, you just ride in the jump seat. They're like, "Yeah, come on,
Yeah,
we're
absolutely.
going to Lincoln. Ride with us."
Yep.
And those days are gone.
Yeah, very limited now. Yeah,
which is okay because the jump seat is like the worst seat in the airplane. I'd
Yeah.
ride on the toilet
Yep.
before I would ride in the jump seat if I
Yep.
had the option. So something that also kind of interests me is just some of the protocols that you have to go through as far as security and everything else goes. Because you guys just recently did an update on the terminal,
Mhm.
which is beautiful, by the way.
Thank you.
I'm very impressed. And so now all the gates are off to one side.
Correct.
So was that a nightmare? All the new security equipment, moving it off to one side of the airport, was that a lot of coordination, a lot of work?
It was there was a lot of coordination, but it's been coming for a while, and so I think there was also a lot of relief. I mean, we were in an environment where we had those 2 split checkpoints,
Mhm.
and again, we've not done anything. It's entirely possible that TSA would have said, "Look, we don't have the staffing to do both of these. Pick one."
Yeah.
And then we don't know what we would have done because the gates were connected, and so this was probably coming in some fashion at some point, regardless.
Yeah. And now, so speaking of that, it was something that was really interesting. I thought this would be when I was in Austin. Have you been to the Austin airport?
I've not been to Austin.
Okay,
no.
so it's like 30 or 40 gates, right? And you
Okay.
walk through one security checkpoint in the middle, and gates 1 through 10 were like total ghost town. 10 to 20 was a total log jam,
Yeah.
and then 20 to 30 was a ghost town.
Mhm.
And I'm like, why in the world is everything jammed up in the middle where we're all on top of each other? Never enough seats, right?
Mhm.
And I thought, man, do you have to coordinate, where the planes can go? Do they rent gates? Do they have to go to
Mhm.
specific places, or can you just send them, hey, there's nobody down at that end of the airport, send them down to gate 1?
They're very specific. Like even at our airport, the technology, as an example, that exists on the gate. They may have proprietary computer systems there or whatnot, but they are normally, especially an airport the size of Austin, I would expect that they do have gate rentals or exclusive use gates or whatnot. And so, well, without knowing exactly what that contracting agreement is,
Yeah.
but even at ours, I mean, we're now using most of the gates that we have in the facility, but it's not uncommon to say, look, we're going to isolate the air carrier on these 2 gates, and then these are going to remain open for whatever use that is. Could be daily use or anything else.
Wow. Very interesting. And you're back on the 402 Business Insider. This segment is sponsored by Integrated Behavioral Health Services and the Lincoln Airport.
Oh,
I know those guys.
Hey, so do I. I know some people
those
there.
guys. So we're talking with Dave Haring at from the Lincoln Airport, Executive Director. Is that the title,
That
right?
is the title,
okay. And so one thing that I wanted to start talking to you about a little bit is commercial service.
The favorite question.
The big question everybody wants to know. The thing that I don't think most people understand is how hard it is. It's not just, you see all these ads people running for, hey, we're going to get better air service and I'm going to get Southwest Airlines in here. And yeah, okay, good luck with that. It's not that easy.
No. And believe me, we want it too. Like
Yeah.
if it was easy just to pick up the phone, and because we get some great calls and we love the fact that people are interested in the airport, but we will get, probably half a dozen calls a year from like, hey, have you considered XYZ carrier? And yep, multiple times, talked to him numerous times. Yeah. And it's not easy. It is a very, very hard job to do air service recruitment.
Yeah. Nobody's sitting at, whatever airline with their hand just hovering over the phone, waiting for the Lincoln Airport to call and go, hey, wow, we can land there. That's okay.
Yep.
No, it's tough.
Yeah, very much so. And not only that, while they're not only just not waiting there are 100 other airports that are making that exact same call.
Exactly. And there's only so many airplanes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the thing I think most people don't quite understand is that there's only so many airplanes. There's a massive pilot shortage right now. Like I said, I quit flying in 1998, right? And so I still get phone calls once in a while going, hey, do you want to get back in the game? It's like, I'm dangerous.
Yeah.
It's been 26, 27 years. I mean, you got to get pretty far down on the list before my name pops up. And to make that call, that tells you how short people are for pilots.
Yeah. Well, and air carriers are being a lot more selective on what they're doing with their aircraft. And you can see that when you're just a flyer. If you get on planes right now, I mean, if you think back 15 years ago, you could get on an airplane and see empty seats all over that plane.
Yeah.
It could be half full or whatnot. Can you name the last time you were on a flight that was more than maybe 1 seat, 2 seats available?
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't happen very often.
No. So
it really doesn't.
Yeah, so they're being very selective in where they're putting those planes, and so it's highly competitive. And like you said, the resources, whether it's pilots or the aircraft, the bodies themselves, yeah, it's hard to get them.
Yeah, and airlines, they need guarantees.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they can't just send an empty airplane in and a crew, and take 5 people out of Lincoln to wherever they're going to go.
Right.
So I think most people don't realize either. You actually, when it comes to working with some airlines, you may have to guarantee them a minimum amount of passenger service, right?
Yeah, it's very much like recruiting businesses. I mean, when you recruit a business to a community, I mean, you work with the community and then you put together a package that may have tax dollars, it may have training availability, it may have workforce promises, things like that. Recruiting air service is very much that same way. The air carrier that comes in wants to know it's an opportunity cost for them.
Right.
They want to know that the community is behind this and they're looking for that incentive, not subsidy, not the same thing as like a Grand Island where they get that annual subsidy, but hey, we're going to come to your community. What are you going to give us to come there to help get us started, basically? And that's what we look at doing that with the incentive packages.
Yeah. And being so close to Omaha can't help.
No, there's been, I obviously don't have exact numbers, but if Omaha, let's say, was 100 miles farther east, 150 miles farther east, we would have triple, quadruple the employments that we have. We'd be 1 million passenger airport a year easily.
Yeah.
It's just being right in the shadow of that. Candidly, the air service that we do have being in the shadow of Omaha is actually pretty good. I mean, when you're talking 8, 9, 10 flights a day, that's pretty good actually for being in the shadow of a medium hub airport.
And we're also compete with Grand Island too.
Yeah.
You know, because you're smack dab in the middle. Like if Lincoln wasn't here, Grand Island would probably be booming.
They'd probably definitely have more service than they have now. Yeah.
So that's something else that you have to compete with because they have a bunch of flights as well.
They do.
So yeah, right now it's you guys just have it's United,
just
right?
United, yeah, which we're lucky to have actually. Right, if you read about the carriers and what's going on in the industry, you know, American is having challenges, Southwest is having challenges, Delta has retrenched a little bit. Universally, talking amongst peer airports, if you're going to have one carrier, United's the one you want to have. They've been great partners for us for a while, and they continue to kind of grow. Yeah,
and you guys have several flights a day.
Yeah.
I mean, I went on the website, I took a look. I'm like, wow, there's a lot more flights coming in and out of Lincoln than I thought.
Yeah.
It kind of surprised me.
It's actually an interesting dialogue. You hear so many people talking about, hey, we want bigger airplanes. And we right now have roughly 4 flights a day, if not 5 at different points, to each of our 2 markets, to Denver and Chicago. And when you talk about bigger airplanes, well, bigger airplane means less frequency. So as a business traveler, that's the question we pose. Would you rather have more flights on smaller aircraft, or would you rather have less flights on bigger aircraft?
Yeah.
It's a quandary.
Yeah. It's so funny because my son flew out of Lincoln. We went to a game and I think it was in Minnesota. He flew out of Lincoln and there's 1 seat on one side and 2 seats on the other side. He thought he was in first class because he was on the 1 seat on the left. I didn't blow the whistle on him. I'm like, yeah, you are in first class.
Yeah, totally.
Enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, is there anything that you guys are working on? I know you can't tip your hand. I imagine you guys are probably talking with airlines every single day.
Yeah, we are. And we've really, you know, one of the things we said over the last couple of years has been, you know, air service takes time and you got to be patient and just allow the process to work out. One of the things that we did within the last year or so was sort of did some internal restructuring with our team and put Rachel Barth on top of really air service and strategic marketing. And that has started to yield some results. We've really seen a turn in some of these conversations we've been having over the last couple months. Continue to be optimistic that maybe in the next couple months or so, maybe we'll have an announcement, which we're really excited about. News. And so I mean, if I didn't have anything at all, I would say like, yeah, we're still a ways away. But the conversations have been sort of promising across all fronts here over the last couple months, just hearing where carriers are at and whatnot. It's still a tough environment though. I mean, it's still, you know, I say that right now, it could change tomorrow. It's still a very tough environment.
You never know. So now you guys have an airport authority, you have a board, an elected board. And so what is their role in the airport?
So they're really the ones that establish the strategic vision for the airport. You know, so we just got. Matter of fact, we are at our board meeting on Monday. We're actually going to be approving. Well, I assume we're going to be approving the first ever strategic plan for the airport, and that was something that they really had a key hand in. The board also has committees. So there, you know, we're talking about air service. There is an air service committee of the board, and they're very involved in all of the efforts that we're doing on that. There's also a facilities committee and a governance committee and whatnot. So they continue to be very active just on that strategic visioning, and then our team kind of enacts what their visions are.
Okay. Very good. So now something else that I was always curious about was cargo service. You know, I know there's a little bit of cargo service. Every airport has some form of cargo service. But I look at, you know, places like Memphis. I get it. Memphis is a lot bigger than we are, but we do, like you said, have a lot of land. And is that something? I mean, we are just smack dab in the middle of the country, and you think, man, what a perfect spot for a massive. I'm sure it's the same as all the airlines. You can't just call up Federal Express and go, hey, come on out and open up a shop.
Yeah.
But is that something you guys are looking at? Is that a tough, because most of them are probably established?
So it's cargo service. So the short answer is yes. We've been looking at it for a while. Matter of fact, if you look at our airport, on the west side of the airport, that big southern ramp where they do car racing right now, that's always been kind of earmarked for cargo operations. That's why we haven't done really much development on it. I've had conversations over the years with logistics providers, the ones that really do the site selection for cargo operators. And what I'm finding is that while we can argue all that, center of the country, key access to interstates, lots of land, huge runways, all that stuff, and it's perfect. The key component is, what do you do in your own community as a result to massive shipping? And we're going to try to get a handle on that, where I think we're going to be looking at doing a cargo feasibility study probably in the next 12 months to try to really understand what it is. But everything else is just gravy. While we can argue regional cargo, that's great. Everything I'm hearing is that you have to be able to defend it internal to your own community, and then the regional becomes gravy after that.
And you're also going to need the employees to support it. That's pretty big.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily, everybody thinks if you build it, they'll come.
No.
Well, there's not a lot of employees right here right now. So that's a struggle for everybody.
Yeah. And we'd love to have it. I mean, that's, cargo is the only component of sort of a thriving airport, if you will, that we don't have. We've got military, we've got commercial service, we have a huge thriving GA component. Cargo is that last one. And just, we haven't been able to corner that market yet.
Yeah, that's a tough one. So right now, though, there are some cargo. Are there dedicated cargo flights that are coming in and out of Lincoln, like small outfits?
Not, well, at least not that I have any significant knowledge of. There could be one-offs here and there. Actually, United does carry cargo a little bit as well. And so you've got some very small operations, nothing that's a dedicated thing, though.
Yeah, the last time I was in Omaha, I noticed that FedEx had a caravan operation up there. And I thought, gosh, I wonder if there are caravans operating in and out of Lincoln. But if you're in Omaha, it's it's a 20-minute flight, or they probably throw it on a truck from Omaha. Yeah. So very interesting. And we're back on the 402 Business Insider. This segment sponsored by the Lincoln Chamber of Commerce and Western National Bank. I love those guys. Regular guys. No suit, no tie. Just go down there. You can chat with them. Brian, Dallin, they're just a great bunch of guys. We absolutely love them. So thank you guys for your sponsorship. And we are talking with Dave Haring from the Lincoln Airport. And one thing that I wanted to talk about too was, now you guys have some maintenance facilities out there. And so I'm trying to remember which air carriers are at the airport doing maintenance.
Doing the MROs. So yeah, we have Commute Air there. They were the first one that came in a couple years ago. And then just recently started with SkyWest.
SkyWest. That's the one I read about. When did that start? That was this year? SkyWest just started. So, I mean, we had some stuff to do to the hangar. So they just put their first planes in there, I think, within the last month or so. Oh, wow. Very good. And so what type of equipment are they bringing in? Is it
typically it's just the RJs, basically. So one of the nice things about that facility is it can handle some of the bigger RJs, but they're doing basically what Commute Air was doing. When Commute Air was here originally, they were doing line maintenance. So overnight stuff, something comes in, they rip it apart, fix the stuff, and send it back out the next day. They're now doing that. SkyWest is doing that. Commute Air has changed to more heavy checks, where they're 30 days in there at a time. Okay,
interesting. One other thing I wanted to talk about is some of the businesses that operate at the airport, because we think of the airport just as commercial service. It is so much more than commercial service, because there are a lot of companies out there that are doing business. I mean, Duncan Aviation, we all know, who employs, I don't know, how many people do they have out there?
Oh my gosh. At the airport, I'm not even sure. They're a huge operation.
It's got to be north of 1,000, I would assume.
I would too.
But a great operation. And they've been here, they've been here forever.
Yeah. I think going back, I think it was like the 70s, or I don't even recall. I don't want to shortchange them. So it's been a while. They're a fixture.
Yeah, absolutely. And they do a lot of work too on regional jets and a lot of, because that's where my friends, when they were with Air Wisconsin, that's where all their maintenance was done. It was over there. So but yeah, what are some of the other businesses that are at the airport that you guys work with?
You know, what's amazing is that you went right down the line right now and started talking about the aviation businesses. And certainly you could talk about the Duncans and the Hill Arrows and the Atlantics. And and those sort of entities that are there. But one of the really unique things about our airport is that industrial park. And when you look at the businesses that are out there, whether you're looking at Hexagon Agility or HTI as far as a plastics molding company, Sensory Effects is a cereal manufacturer. And so, the variety of businesses that are in that park is pretty cool, actually. I mean, that's not something I thought I would get engaged in when I went to school for airports, and getting engaged and seeing all of these different functionalities that go on, but has really helped us from a revenue diversification project as well.
And you guys inherited a lot of those buildings from the military when they kind of pulled back or pulled out, and so the airport or the citizens of Lincoln actually own those buildings out there. A lot of them.
That's correct. I mean, some of them we've either torn down or they've fallen down.
Yeah.
But for the most part, that's really what has helped us quite a bit. Is all that land that's out there. When I talked about the 5,500 acres, that's the reason it's so big. Is that all this came back as part of that Air Force base. A lot of the area that's out there now, that's our industrial park, was base housing. You can still see base housing. Matter of fact, on the west side of Northwest 48th Street, some of those homes that are there are the old base housing, whatnots. But we've really been fortunate. That's helped us immensely having that as an asset.
You don't own the housing and stuff though, do you?
Not the housing, but like as an example, if you've ever been up to the storage bunker area that's up there, if you go down north, up, what is it? I think it's Fletcher, maybe right there. That's the street right there. There's storage bunkers back that used to be old ammo storage. Ammunition storage, and we use them as storage. We rent them out as storage facilities, and then there's a big lot on the other side of 48 that we have. And so airport's land is just kind of all over the place right now.
Yeah, and that makes up a pretty good chunk of your budget every year, is renting land and renting buildings. And
it's huge. And I was looking at this the other day. I was looking at financials for another airport, and passenger activity represents about 91% of their budget. In our case, 50% of our budget comes from that industrial park.
Oh, wow.
And so that's why during like the COVID years, when you saw passengers just drop, and you saw an airport like a 91% budget airport that has that passenger component, we were not hit as hard because we didn't see the drop on the industrial park side with land rents and fees and et cetera. So very solid way to keep revenue diversified.
Yeah, what a great setup for an airport, because most airports don't have that luxury. No. I mean, they'll have a few buildings here and there, and they'll have a little bit of industrial, but
well, you're talking about when an airport has a big industrial park or a business park, you might be talking 200, 300 acres. We're talking 1,000 acres.
Yeah.
And so one of the things we just did recently is brought a broker on. Actually, we're going to be working with NAIFMA to really see if we can spur more growth in that industrial park.
Oh, interesting. Very good. Yeah, because I remember, Cheyenne, great example. I mean, half of the airport was military, the other half was, and then it was city all the way around it. I mean, there were roads, absolutely everywhere. So yeah, that's something that is really interesting, because I know that we're getting ready to do a bridge project, because there are a couple of bridges out there kind of rough,
a little bit,
and doing some roads and some drainage ditches and whatnot, and kind of preparing that for more tenants.
That's right.
Which is exciting.
Yeah.
And there was a building out there. Whew. I buy some crappy real estate, but that building was in rough shape, man. Yeah. And it was funny because I remember at a presentation, they showed a picture of the building. And they're like, we have to tear that down. And some people are like, why?
Yeah.
Like, are you looking at the same picture that I'm looking at? Because this thing's coming down, whether we help it or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's something that I think is such a cool opportunity for us, just to bring in revenue, because that helps keep taxes low. And so one other thing, and we can talk more about this when we come back, is, you guys are a taxing authority.
Yes.
And that's something that people really need to pay attention to, is that what are we doing? How are we getting income? Because the airport is actually generating a lot of income for this town.
The one thing I'll touch on, like you say, we can talk about it later. We're getting ready to do a new economic impact study, but the last study that we did showed that our annual impact to the community was $1.2 billion.
Wow. That's impressive. And I mean, how many jobs? You think about, you add in how many people are just employed not just at the airport, but are that velocity of money
as a result of the airport.
Yeah, absolutely. It's absolutely massive. And we're back at the 402 Business Insider, talking with Dave from the Lincoln Airport. So we were talking a little bit about taxes, because the airport is a taxing authority. Yeah. And I know that there are some projects coming up, and one of them is got to repave the runway. That's kind of not an option, and that ain't a cheap runway to pave. Like we said,
no,
a couple miles long, a couple 100 feet wide.
Yeah,
it's a biggie.
It is. And we're really going to, basically, it's the identical project that Offutt just did, is that we have done everything we can at that pavement, some of that's legacy pavement dating back 50, if not more years. And so we have done everything we can to patch it and keep it operating as long as possible. But it's just at the point now where you get into safety concerns where it's unraveling. So it'll be the biggest project in the history of this airport, in excess of $100 million.
Yeah. And luckily, the federal government's picking up a big chunk of that tab.
Really, it's a great partnership. The federal government's picking up a lot, both on the civilian side. There's some military dollars that go into that. The state has put some money in, thanks to the efforts of Senator Bostar and some others. And so and then I'm trying to think if we have other parts, and then the airport is putting in some as well. And so like 4, 5, 6 different sort of funding tranches coming into that to help fund it.
Very good. One question I always have is, when it comes to, as you start bringing in your budget, is there opportunity to kind of set some money aside to try and help bring some people in, kind of, I don't want to say lure them in. That sounds kind of, but you have to set some money aside to try and get some of that air service in to guarantee passenger service, or kind of like a sinking fund or something like that. Do you guys?
So on the air service front, that's a challenge because we cannot use any of our money for air service incentive guarantees. It's blocked by the federal government. It says you cannot do it. The only exception that it makes to that are parking fines. Of all things, I don't think we want to start that program. I don't think a parking fine program to hit everybody hard for air service is going to work. But the other one is a general property tax can be utilized outside that arena as well.
Oh, wow.
That's why it was the only option. We looked at every other option that we could. And unfortunately, air service is just a pay to play game now.
It really is. I mean, you have no option. Mm-hmm. You have absolutely no option. And I think, you always hate to say, I think it's a great idea, but it's a good idea. If we want bigger air service, that's something that we people in Lincoln are really going to have to think about. Mm-hmm. Is if you want it, it's pay to play. Mm-hmm. And that's our only option.
Yeah.
So anything new coming up? Anything else that you guys are working on out there project wise?
Seems like we always have something going on. And we, right now, the bulk of the focus is happening as respect to the runway. But we really right now that the terminal is up and operating, we're really focused on that customer experience component of what's going on in the facility. And we really have a lot of grand plans for that, whether that's the Flyers Club. We met here just recently on potential changes that we might consider for our parking experience, even including something that you would not pull a ticket anymore at all. You would just drive in and drive out and everything's automated. And so some really cool things happening out there that we might be looking at, but that terminal is really the catalyst in what we do with it.
Yeah. And I got to give you hats off. I mean, parking is still so dang cheap out there. I was about a month or so ago, I was kind of going off. I found an opportunity to fly out of Omaha, saved $80, right? And the flight got canceled. So I had to get up there. I'd get up at like 2:00 in the morning, drive to Omaha, which ain't cheap. Right. And then parked, go in, canceled the flight, left, still charged me $40, or $30 or whatever the heck it was. It's like, really? You guys canceled my dang flight. So yeah, my $80 savings vanished. Yeah, what a nightmare. But yeah, the parking out there, it's fantastic.
Yeah,
I mean, it's so accessible. It's so easy. There's no shuttles. That's always the nightmare.
It's funny because you'll have people that are from bigger cities that'll come to Lincoln and they'll park or whatever it is. They have a rental car. You'll hear them on the phone being like, yeah, literally, I just walked like right across the street. There was the terminal. It was like right there. And so, yeah, that close in parking is really a nice convenience.
Yeah, you could probably see your car from stepping off the airplane.
Absolutely.
Like, hey, there it is right over there. So I know that you guys had just done. Now, did you guys repave the parking lot? No, you didn't.
I haven't done that yet.
No,
that's in the works. Yeah, we are looking at doing that. I think a lot of it is we're trying to figure out what we're doing with this parking system. That we're due for an upgrade on the parking system. Figure out what we're doing with that, and then I think there'll be some improvements that come later on.
How's the automation thing work? Is you just scanning license plates, or
and I'm not sure where they're doing this yet. We're still going through the evaluation phase of it, but it's funny. You have some of these. Everybody wants to know about convenience, and the less paper and interaction that you have, the better. And literally, you would just go through it, scans a license plate, makes a digital footprint or fingerprint of the car itself. And then when you leave, you just pull out on the other side.
Oh, that's handy.
Yeah. So
because then you don't have to worry about losing a ticket.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's some people that is going to be uncomfortable. So we're making sure that we're accommodating all travelers. Some people still want that physical ticket. They want to pay with cash. They want to interact with somebody. And we're aware of that. And we want to make sure that we provide that experience as well. So right now that is just maybe so it's on the horizon as a maybe. We'll see if it evolves.
I'm just astounded at how many things that you have to manage. I mean, that is a lot. I mean, from you think parking to paving runways to managing, being a kind of a landlord, so to speak, and then development. And oh my goodness, That's a heck of a job you got there.
But it's fun.
That's a lot of work.
It's fun though.
Now I know where all the gray hairs are coming from.
That's right.
And we're back for the last segment of the 402 Business Insider. This segment brought to you by the UPS stores. You know, when you think UPS, we always think of the brown trucks and the guys bringing boxes to us, but UPS stores so much more than just delivery. These guys actually do a lot of printing. They actually printed the 402 business cards. We did thank you notes. They printed our envelopes. These guys are really big small business supporters. So if you guys have a print need, if you need some help designing something, the UPS stores, there's 5 Lincoln locations. They are all locally owned, and they can help you with brochures, banners, posters, magazines, letterhead, newsletters, postcards, you name it. UPS store. I think that stands for Unbelievable Print Shop. Is that right?
I like it.
I think that's what it is.
Could be.
I could be wrong on that. I'm wrong often, but I think that's right. So, all right, Dave. Well, we have a couple minutes left here, so let's just talk a little bit about what's coming up. Is there? I know we do an air show every year. Is that coming up?
No, we
year?
did.
No air show.
Now you just freaked out. Now you just freaked out the entire operation staff.
There we go. Getting everything wrong.
Yeah, no, it's one of the things that we made a focus on a couple years back was we wanted to see people coming out to the airport that weren't flying. We just wanted them to come to the airport.
Sure.
Sort of that magic of just be there. And so team's done a great job of creating an event-based thing that happens out at the airport every year. And so I would say the one thing I would mention is our drive-in movie series that started years ago.
So cool.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about that a few months ago. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So this started during COVID. It started really small, where we were just trying to find ways to allow people to get out of the house, but still maintain that social distancing. And so Rachel and her team created a drive-in movie series on the side of a hangar. So you still get that magic of being out at the airport and whatnot. And it has taken off. Pardon the pun, but it is really taken off. We used to get maybe a couple hundred people for each movie, and now we get thousands.
That's
we get,
awesome.
1,500. So the next one is May 9th. Actually, we're going to be showing Coco.
Coco.
Yeah.
What's Coco?
I believe it's animated. I'm pretty sure it's an animated film. So yeah.
Yeah, it's I miss the drive-in movies. I mean, that was a thing when we were kids.
It was.
You just went. And in my case, you snuck in through a hole in the fence and you sat by somebody else's car and watched the movie. But hey, that was just me.
Yeah.
So that is awesome. So that's June 9th?
Yeah, or May 9th. May 9th is the next one.
Oh my gosh.
And we'll have, I think there's about 8 of them about seven or 8 of them over the course of the summer and into the fall. And so great program there. I would also mention that we do have on June 3rd, this is more aviation focused. The board, actually, you're talking about the board earlier, is hosting a town hall.
Okay.
I think it's like 5:30 to 7:30, if I remember correctly, or somewhere in that.
So
time
bring
frame.
your questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you want to know?
Great opportunity to interact with the elected officials on what's happening and be able to ask the questions. So that was something that was important to them to be able to be front and center with the folks, especially with the tax going on.
Okay.
Now.
Fantastic. And I know you guys had so one thing I'll say is people need to start following your Facebook because Rachel's doing an incredible job with your Facebook. There was a global entry thing. Now it's full. You missed it.
Full. Yep.
So there you go. You got to get on their Facebook. You got to follow them. And you guys also, I think you're on X. I think you're on Instagram. Probably all of them. Whatever the kids are doing these days.
That's right.
Those are the places to find you. So, all right. Well, we are out of time. I want to thank you for coming in and chatting with us. Had fun.
Enjoyed it. Always do.
So you're listening to the 402 Business Insider. Next week, for you old school fans of KLIN, Brian Eckelberry, who used to be on the Drive Time show way back when, is going to come talk to us, starting a new business. So thanks for listening, and we will see you guys next week.
Hi, I'm Jason Ball, president of the Lincoln Chamber of Commerce. Are you ready to take